Hi everybody, and welcome to another video from me, Duncan M3BIK. And on this video I'm going to show you how to use the Ofcom frequency portal and how to find it. So a lot of people I've noticed on YouTube have been posting the wrong link or the old link, because the link did change a few years ago and people have probably still got the link saved. So what we're going to do is go to Google and search for Ofcom Spectrum portal. And the top link there should be Ofcom Spectrum port information portal. So we'll click that. And there we go. Just wait for that bit to load. Now we scroll down and what we're looking for is this bottom bit here, where we've got 4 sections. Spectrum overview, which is an overview of the spectrum. So what we'll do is I'll just click on that and just show you what you get on the overview page. So you get like the particular frequencies by band, and you can tick the boxes and things like that to see what each band is used for, but we're not here for that today. So we'll go back, just go back to that page again. Just wait a second while this loads. It can be a bit slow at times. So the one we were looking at is number 3, licenses. So we click view details. Now what you can do here, it looks a bit sort of skewed and messed up in the middle of the screen, but if you press this bottom button in the bottom right hand corner here with the 2 arrows pointing each way, we can expand it to full screen. So what we can do here, we can search by area and by type of license in use. Now a lot of websites like Radio Reference and things like that, they pull their data from Ofcom. So we can see up here, it says license data last updated the 5th of the 5th, 26. That is today. That's the day I'm recording this video. Now, the likes of Radio Reference and everything get their data from this site because Ofcom are the people who register the frequencies. Now, one thing I will say, when you go to Radio Reference and things like that, yes, you can find the frequencies. And you've also got the mode option on Radio Reference where it'll tell you if a frequency is, you know, narrowband FM or DMR and everything like that. Now that I have often found is wrong, and I always wondered why it was wrong. It's because it doesn't seem like that data is publicly visible in this Ofcom portal. I'll come to that in a moment. So on the region area here, so you can search via a region or an area or your city. So let's just pick Blackpool as an example. If I could spell correctly. Blackpool. So right, we tick it. And now the map there just focuses on Blackpool. Now, if you're just a scanner enthusiast, like myself, the option of fixed links, which are radio links between site to site, often operate on the gigahertz band, you don't need to know them. The only one you'll ever need to know is the BR Tech assigned, which I think stands for business radio. It's just a generic term for all the stuff you're going to find on like UHF and VHF. So we'll tick that, and we've now got rid of all these fixed links and we've just got anything to do with business radio. Now we can zoom in on this, and as you may guess, we can see dots, which are where the transmitter site is located. So what we'll do is we'll just click on one of them, and there straight away you can see it sort of changed the screen on the right hand side and says that's Blackpool Borough Council, and these are all the frequencies in use and the license number. There's a lot of information here that you probably won't need to know. So the first bit it shows you is who owns it. So that's Blackpool Borough Council. And the next bit down here, it shows you the latitude, longitude, the license number, the transmitting and receiving frequency, and various other bits of information about the antenna and the power in use. Now, here again, there's a few things that I think are wrong, even on the Ofcom portal. One is antenna elevation. I've checked a few that I know locally to me, and even some others that I know of, and they'll often say things like 10 meters, and I think it's just the best guess, really, because I know some of the buildings or some of the aerials are a lot higher than that, possibly, or maybe even lower, but generally they're a lot higher, I found, than what they actually say there. And then they say the power, again, 5. Well, I assume the power is correct, because your power is your power, and you can't go above a certain power without basically getting some more licenses from Ofcom. And then you've got this other field, antenna height and whatever, 140. Is it right? Is it accurate? I think these are just like a best guess, the antenna elevation and antenna height, and that. I don't think they're like anyone's measuring from the top of a building to the bottom of the antenna or whatever, to get that height information. But yeah, the bit that most people want is just the frequency. They just want to know who owns it and what the frequency is. So you can basically click on these and find out who owns the different ones. Got on there, Blackpool Football Club, different frequencies. Now, you'll probably find, I'm going to guess here, I've not ever listened to Blackpool Football Club before, but I'm going to guess you've got 2 frequencies here, 165, 150 and 169950. I would guess that this is DMR, and if I was going to put the frequency in my scanner for this, I'd put the 165 in. That would be the RX one that the radios receive on, and the higher frequency is all transmitting information and everything like that. The one you generally don't listen to, you always tend to listen on DMR to the lowest frequency of the two. As a general rule of thumb. But yeah, that's how you find information on the Ofcom portal. Now, you can also do this by a company as well. So if we just wanted to do by a company, we can click there, and because we're already selected Blackpool, and if we wanted to know where Blackpool Victoria Hospital, for example, we could tick that and it would come up on the map. And then we all go, oh, I gotta guess it's probably that one. Yeah, Victoria Hospital. And we can tick that and we can see the frequencies there that are in use. Again, we don't know from this the mode of transmission, whether it's narrowband FM or DMR, but the main thing that most scanner enthusiasts are looking for is the frequency and who owns it. Now, probably more so who owns it, because generally if you're into scanning, you'll scan around a bit and you'll find something and you'll listen to it and you're like, I don't understand what they are. You might have a guess what they're talking about. I've got a few frequencies like that I've found, and you hear them talking and things like that, and you think, oh, they're in a factory. They're talking about Bay something, production line 3 or whatever. So you think, oh, they've got to be in a factory, and you can, it narrows it down a bit, doesn't it? You can kind of work out what they are. But with this, you can obviously go in and you can zoom in on the site and you go, oh, it's that company and it's that frequency. So you know exactly what you're listening to. Again, many of these have got multiple frequencies assigned to them. I'm not going to explain on this how the frequencies work and everything, but yeah, you've got this little interactive map here where you can just click on things. Blackpool Transport Services. Again, it doesn't, like I say, you don't know what you're listening to until you find it. Some of these frequencies are not all going to be in use. And you don't know the mode of transmission or anything like that. So yeah, you might find something like this. You might only find that one of the frequencies is ever in use, but they actually own 5 or 6 different frequencies. That's quite common. I see that all the time when I'm looking at different things on the scanner. You'll put the other frequencies in and you'll never get a hit on them. It's just one of them things. It's just how it works. It could be a trunk system or something like that, but you know, we don't really have trunk systems here in the UK. Not many companies use trunk, but again, you don't know from this portal what's visible to the public. You don't know, but you've got the information that you need to know, which is the frequency and who it's assigned to. And of course, you're looking for basically BR tech assigned, which is business radio, I think, tech assigned. Fixed links, they are, like I say, radio links site to site, opposite, you know, operating the gigahertz bands. So, you know, you can't listen to them or anything. They're just sending data site to site. So it is kind of pointless looking at that. But I mean, if we look at Blackpool's a sort of reasonable area, but we could change that to something like London. Untick Blackpool, tick London. And you're going to get a whole mess like that. And the reason I wanted to show you London as an example is because obviously everyone knows London's massively busy for scanning and things like that. But you've got all these other things as well. Marina that you might want to listen to. Fixed links again, I'd kind of ignore them, you know, because they are just going to be radio links. But we've got satellite earth stations again, stuff that you're never going to need to listen to. Radar stuff again. Maybe Marina might have something on there that's possible to listen to. I don't know. It looks like possible, could be DMR or something on there. But the one that you're mostly going to be looking for is BR Tech Assign. That's general UHF, VHF. And as you can see, there you go. We're just looking at London, and wow, you know, there's a lot of it in use. You can just click it and see, you know, it's a lot. Again, stuff here that's probably DMR. A lot of this stuff nowadays is DMR. It's people moved on from kind of FM to DMR. You'll find narrowband FM stuff operating still. Tends to be private companies that haven't upgraded their kit to DMR. So when you spot like a big national company like, I don't know, DHL or something like that, or you know, some hospital or something, chances are they're going to be DMR. But if you find some local skip hire company, it's possible still it's going to be narrowband FM, and it's going to be, you know, around the 400 odd meg mark, or maybe even like 167 meg or something like that. I've got a few round by me that are operating on that narrowband FM still. But the majority of the stuff these days has moved to DMR, which is a whole separate video. But at least if you find something, you can now use the Ofcom portal for free. Obviously, you don't pay to use the Ofcom portal. This is free, whereby Radio Reference you're paying to use. I'm not against Radio Reference because I do use it myself and I do pay for it myself, mainly because you can do all the exporting and things like that, and I have shown that in other videos. You know, you can export data from Radio Reference. You can search for you know, everything in a certain area of London, let's say, and you know, there's 100 frequencies, and you can export them in various different formats particular to your radio, like a Whistler TRX or a Uniden 125 or whatever. You know, you can do all that on Radio Reference, whereby on the Ofcom portal you can't do that. You're just viewing the data. So it's good for viewing the data and, you know, comparing it with Radio Reference, which I use, like say, for exporting the data and whatever. You know, it's got that. You could sit and, you know, if you're going on a trip out to London or something, you could sit and write hundreds of frequencies down. But if you've got Radio Reference, you can just go, oh, I'm staying in this area of London, export, you know, you're done, and you've got 100 frequencies there in a matter of minutes. Yeah, it might be the wrong modes on Radio Reference because they're not always correct. You know, you have got the option on Radio Reference to flag up things that are wrong, which is often the mode of transmission. You know, they show us narrowband FM when they're actually DMR. But yeah, that's how you use the Ofcom portal, and you've got these options still at the top here, the home, spectrum view, and things like that. We'll just show you the spectrum view very quickly. And here you can see the spectrum split up into different modes. and you click something like mobile, and it tells us all the mobile modes that it's got assigned. Land mobile, on ticket. It does mean a lot to an average scanner user. You know, this doesn't, because you know you want to probably just scan around VHF, UHF. You can see what's in the VHF, UHF band. But if you're into radio stuff, you know, amateur radio operates in a certain band area, for example. So, you know, you might not need to know any further information about that. So the license tab is the one that you're probably looking for to search the UK Spectrum section on the Ofcom website. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching this video. Hope you found it useful. If the URLs change, which they do sometimes by Ofcom, just pop me a message in the comments below and I'll update the video, but I will post the current URL in the video description. Okay, thanks for watching, everyone.